Jesus. It's been a really interesting day, and certainly one that's had me more tired than most. I used to actually stream around this time several years back, and then because I always had errands on Saturday and I think Monday as well, I would go, okay, let's do this earlier. So let me is this thing doing it? You never know with YouTube. Well, that's all I can say. There's always something screwy going on. Some machinations that are not satisfying. I don't know where I put my phone. I'm so disoriented from all this stuff from today that my whole setup is just tumbling before my eyes. Oh, okay. Let's see. It says I'm live, but then what's the amount of time on there? Okay, good. So there was nothing cut out. Oh man, it's crazy how you can see in the first couple of weeks of a year the decay of certain things. Like I know somebody would say, "Oh my God, you're so pessimistic," but I'm serious when I tell you that you can start seeing like the threads of how a whole year is going to go by are going to go just based off like the first maybe 8 or 9 weeks. Like usually there's some unforeseen thing that might occur in that period, or a person starts getting like more aggressive about something, and it all just serves to kind of, I guess, serve as a prelude of things to come. Man, I don't even know what to say. I've been getting a lot of injuries at the job. I had yesterday cut my finger. I cut this finger, and then right around here on the other one. And when I was taking that shower yesterday, it burned. Stung right here, stung right there, just stinging back and forth. And I was having a conversation with one of my relatives about how, with a lot of these jobs, they hire like 20 women and maybe 5 men, and then they have the 5 men do every single like thing that requires heavy lifting or any type of work that isn't just clicking a cash register or making some food. They have these, for example, scenarios where they'll get two workers to throw out the trash. And I'm not even kidding. I've asked around. I said, because I always only ever see men doing it. I've done it 4 or 5 times. Always been with another guy. And I asked at least 2 or 3 people up there. I said, have you ever seen a woman have to come out here and lift this sometimes very heavy trash? And they said no. In fact, the only time I've ever seen one of them do it is when the place is like closing and there's only a few people there anyway. And the woman's like a manager. But other than that, pretty much never. And, people will say, "Oh, you're being," because like my the point I'm making really isn't, "Oh, they shouldn't hire women," right? Because there are sometimes positions that people are good for, sometimes positions that people are not good for. But I guess what drives me crazy is I think about how mean a few of the managers are, and some of the other people that work there. And I kind of, there's almost a part of me that's like, if this person, referring to yourself, is doing a service or something that is not physically capable of being done by a majority of your employees, maybe you should treat them a little bit nicer, be a little bit more accommodating. Like they have me go and lift all this stuff in the freezer, and after I lifted it or lifted the various in my opinion, heavy containers, I would have liked a minute or two to just sit down and catch my breath, because it really did wear me out to have to like manually pick these up one by one and put them on top of this thing and make sure that none of them fall over or crack or break. It's I was feeling kind of lightheaded, and I was also trying to make sure my head didn't hit that pipe that's in there. It's not easy. Of course, we don't even have to get into the further insanity of the relatives. I think they speak for themselves at this point. It's like you get rid of one of them and another one just pops up. And I pledge to anyone that watches this that when you're talking about these people, it's like you can literally just have almost no scenario whatsoever where you're even like trying to, start something, and then the person will just take it and keep like picking at it and picking at it and picking at it until you're like, is this really that big of a deal? Is this really this huge giant incident and scandal and thing that you need to keep bugging somebody over? And oh my god, look at what he did. Like, are you serious? I see Batman Forever is trending on Twitter. uh it is kind of fun to think about how different the two versions of Riddler are. For that one in the Jim Carrey one and the Paul Dano one in the Batman, like night and day different. Oh, great. Lights out. I guess I could turn this thing on. I'll give it a few more moments. And I didn't even get to mention I've got these. I've had them for about a week now. These rashes on my feet uh, that do get rather itchy. And the theory I have is that a lot of times during the latter part of the day, because they have us wearing these slip resistant shoes, they'll have the floors like completely just drenched in water, and sometimes the water will spill directly on your feet. So I think that might, maybe because the shoes themselves are not really that solid or strong, that's probably that would be my like diagnosis for why this is happening, or why I ended up having feet that feel that way now. But yeah, it's just so irritating. Although still not the most irritating thing of this week. Go figure. Oh, put my bag down there. I'm telling you, I feel like a hamster on a wheel with so much of this stuff. Like, there are a lot of times where it'll be as though I get this one little like glimmer of hope, and then there will be something else or several things afterward where it's just like, yeah, you thought things are getting better? I don't think so. Uh no, if people don't show up to this, I feel the same way about these that I feel about the morning, the like really, really early morning streams where it's just like I'm doing it on the chance that people want to watch the replay, but if they don't show up to it live, it's not that big of a deal to me because it's not my usual hours anyway. It's just that I didn't want to like completely not do it, because I know I'll definitely be able to do it on Monday because I don't work, but uh I still wanted to like throw out something, even if it was a later creation, so to speak. Oh man. That's as bright as we can go. Okay, well, time to turn this thing on. Oh. So many cords, so many wires, so many strings. Oh God. It's so funny. It's like you could talk about the emotional pain somebody feels from, losing a close relative or a person they cared about, and then you get the physical pain of like, oh, here's my cut finger and my uh, feet with rashes on them, and it's interesting. It's like it was like the emotional pain wasn't enough. You need to like stick something else in there too. No, I'm not even surprised with a lot of the injuries I get from there because what it is that a lot of times they have you grabbing these things and you have to put them in these tight spaces and there's a lot of like maneuvering and it's just one of those things where because there's so much stuff that you're constantly having to hold on to and some of it's sharp, some of it's needs to go on top of something else. There was one time I put this heavy container down and it like scraped the side of my finger. And then of course when I was lifting this heavy trash one day, and I still have the scar from that about a week and a half ago. I think I threw it or it might have been like a boxing, but it cut me. And I was remember this is actually there was another incident that was similar to this back in when I was working at this job last year before last year rather. And I had a similar problem where I went to take out the trash and got cut, except in that case it was on my shoulder. But in this case it was my finger. And of course, and I went inside to ask the manager for a band-aid and he was too busy watching Dragon Ball. So I just it took a while, but I had to prod him. Mm. It's so interesting just working somewhere and there's like these people that you'll just randomly discover like the same things that you do. It's that's so far. I think I have pretty diverse interests. Uh so when someone, is like, oh yeah, I was watching this, I saw that, I kind of I don't want to say I mesh entirely well because sometimes people might have a different belief on it than you do, but it is it's been one of the more fascinating things to just see how many like different shows and movies and I mean even beyond that. I mentioned I had a coworker who was talking about his relatives and he was like, "Oh, they're from Mississippi." I said, "Wow, for real?" Because I was so surprised to see someone who had relatives from the same state that my grandfather was from. So it was just another one of those little surprises. Like, wow, out of all the states, that one. Oh man, I don't know what the deal with streams is. Like, it'll say, "Oh, three people are watching," then one person is watching, then two people are watching, then one person is watching, then four people are watching, then one person is watching. I don't even waste my time counting the numbers. Like if someone I know writes something, I'll respond to it, but any other stuff, I just stay away. No, I don't know. I feel like a jerk to say, "Oh yeah, I'm so tired of working," because I'm not tired of work in and of itself. I just hate that they tell you you're going to be here from 6 to 1, and then you're here until 2 o'clock, 2:30, and then you have to drive as far as I do. You know, that's the thing I hate or don't like the constant like framing of it as, oh, you're going to have these set hours. Because I was telling my one of my relatives, I said they're really slick because when they sit here and they talk about, oh, you're here until this many hours, they don't count the fact that actually when they set you up, like they'll say 5 to 1, for example. Many times they've scheduled me at 6. Like it's becoming more and more rare to go in at 5. And the reason for that is when they do their past 1 o'clock thing that everybody despises, they don't have to pay you overtime because they say, "Oh, it's 8 hours," even if we incorrectly said 1 when it was 2. I keep having to remind myself to get a hat from the Williamson campaign before the March primary. That still to me is the most insane thing. Like we went from having primaries in June to now March. A lot of times you can't even get the paperwork to appear on the ballot until like a few months before the election, so you get like your time to actually campaign halved. Oh, what a great system we have. Oh, today I definitely got my first taste of it. I had this phobia, and like I try to be transparent about things. There is some stuff I keep redacted just to not mess up another person's identity, or just reasons beyond my control. But I always thought in going up to like random people, you're a little nervous. But it is true that the more and more you do it, the less worried you are. In fact, actually, what I started to kind of pick up on is that if you have a pre-recorded, not necessarily line, because like you explain why you're there, whatever. But I just think it's so fascinating how the more you do it, it just wears off. Like the whole, oh, I don't want to knock on this person's door as to, because really the worst they can do is just say no. And when they say no, I leave them alone. I had this one person, lady, pulled up in their car. I go, ma'am, and they before I can even like speak to them, get close to them, she says, not today. Okay, whatever. Now, of course, that's only irritating from the perspective of, they didn't even hear you out, but that's the reality of a lot of these different races and elections where uh people just don't care. I mean, if you're a candidate or someone who's a surrogate, you have to make, you're trying to raise awareness of either yourself or whoever the other person is. But there's only so much you can do when you have a voter base that is not engaged, that doesn't care. Um, and it can be frustrating. I'll get into that later, but I just find it interesting that I really, when I pulled up in the neighborhood, there was like, that. But as I just went down that block, started feeling more comfortable. A little bit frustrated because I'll never not be amazed at how you can ask the most minute things of people and they just can't do it. Like I used to think when people would come on YouTube and they would go, "Can you please donate?" I was like, "Okay, people aren't donating because they value their money." But like we're at a point now where if you ask people to just write their name on a piece of paper, something that honestly probably takes less than a minute for one person to do it, they can't. They refuse. No, thank you. I'm good. Who is calling me? Hello? 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 Yeah. Weird stuff like that happens a lot. A lot of numbers that just call people and they don't say anything. But I'm serious when I tell you that like I have I have this basic faith in humanity, and it has been crippled by just some of the things I've seen, some of the like nastier aspects of people. But we really are at a point now where you just can't get some individuals to do the most minute of things. And it's not even this goes beyond an election. This goes beyond trying to get some signatures to be on the ballot or to qualify for whatever. You like I remember I will do so many videos or streams and people will come in there and they will write 50 different comments before they even hit the like button, which boosts the engagement of the stream, allows more people to see it or know that it's going on, which will then possibly get them to click it and also come as well. I'll never forget, I asked one relative, this was about 7 or 8 years ago, probably 9 years ago, because it was like 2000. Yeah. Okay. I asked one relative, they lived in another city at the time. I said, hey, because they would always come back to here, like for work to where I am, pretty much every other weekend or just very often, like twice a month at least. So I said, hey, can you bring some of your recyclables with you when you come down here? I could use them. I don't have at the time I didn't have a job. I was still in school. And this person said no. And they told me that that was too much work. And I just thought to myself, it's like, imagine having this big car. Their car is larger than mine. It's one of the largest it's not like I'm not called a minivan or anything, but it's certainly big enough to where they could put a bag of bottles in the back seat or the trunk and bring it, but they didn't want to. They didn't care. It didn't affect them. So why should I even like blink? And I find that so fascinating how things that cost people nothing. Because it's not like I'm saying, hey, go out and buy some bottles so you can like, give them to me after you finish drinking. No, it's me saying, hey, you're already drinking this stuff. How about you let it benefit somebody else uh instead of just, mindlessly and in my opinion, wastefully throwing it in the trash after you finish drinking it. Oh, that's too much work. But that's why I said I'm at this point now where I'm not like to go up to people and ask them, hey, can you write your name on this piece of paper? You print it, you sign it, you put your address and then your city. And to see just how many refuse to either open the door, refuse to do it because they're not a political person. Or, oh no, thank you. I I'm I wish I could say I was surprised, but like I said, that lack of faith in people, it always shows its credibility. That's all I can say. We are truly in the era of utter and complete apathy. Like if I went around and I said to people, "Hey, I'm poor, give me $5," and they slammed the door in my face, I wouldn't even think twice about, oh, maybe if I said this, I was like, you know what? I asked them for something that cost them, out of their own pocket, whatever. But in this scenario, you're talking about them just having to write their name on a piece of paper, and that's like a deal breaker for them. That's like too much work. I'm telling you, I'm not even shocked. And again, I went over there having the like whole, what if somebody says no? But I think I've explained before, I've had so many other rejections that were much more soul crushing than this before. Um, so it's not really a shocking, huge end of the world type scenario for me to just not have people want to, you know, sign a form. It was my hope that I could possibly try getting it all today, but we're not even halfway through this process, and I just got tired. I walked down an entire block of probably 20 or 30 houses, and I got a little bit, I got my needle in a haystack, but simply wasn't enough. We do have time. We have until I think it's February. It's like it's like the last week of February, second to last week, so latter back half of it. Just it's just irritating. But nobody ever said running for anything was easy, especially when you're actually attempting to not just sit at your house like the incumbent. I did tell the ones that signed it that when the actual date approaches, I will absolutely come back over there and remind them and make sure that they know so they can get involved or I guess vote. This has been so fascinating. Because I was complaining about how a lot of the state officials like don't know anything, right? They're just buffoons. You ask them questions, they can't answer it. They redirect you somewhere because their whole job is literally just bouncing you from one person to the other. Um, but that's why when I called up the county clerk and the person actually answered all of my questions, it just felt so refreshing. Like I asked them for their name, I thanked them. It was nice. I'm very serious when I say that when you go through the cycle of just calling these places and it's just nothing, right? Total nothingness. And you have someone who says, "Hey, you know, this is how you do this. This is what you need." She took my breath away. My only regret is when I actually went there, I didn't get to speak to her. Oh man. No, we are at the point of utter helplessness when it comes to human beings. Like things have gotten so bad that if the price of like and I'm trying to think of an example that has to do with like not paying for something. Um Things have become so awful that if you were to take a girl, little girl with some big beady eyes, the big, huge eyes and puppy dog look, if you were to take a little girl and have her knock door to door and explain that she needs 20 signatures to not end up getting kicked out of preschool for raising the middle finger, you would see those 20 signatures be very difficult to get without crisscrossing the entire neighborhood block, several blocks rather, because people just don't care. They just don't care. And it's more frustrating when you actually make an effort. Like, it's one thing for me to sit on the computer and write and talk about this on a stream for an hour and a half or 2 hours. But when you actually go out there and you say, "Hey, I'm this running for that. These are my positions." Like to go through a whole block in the neighborhood, 20, 30 houses, and you get several people that sign it, but you get maybe two actual discussions, two actual conversations where you can talk to somebody else about this like a human being. It just shows you how like segmented and fragmented the actual concerned citizens are. Like it's really demoralizing. But yeah, by the end of it, it was about three something when I walked away. I left at somewhere after 12. I got back about two or so that it was about 2 hours of that, and I just I just got tired, honestly. I just got tired. I said, you know what? We have other days we can do this. This was a nice first go round. Um, it wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be, right? But you have to take the good and the bad. No, it's sad that people are the way they are. I guess the one highlight is it makes the ones that aren't like this much more notable. Because I did feel a confidence boost when some of them signed that thing. I was, I don't know. My thing is, I just want to try with anything I do. When we were talking about the Johnson documentary, even if I didn't finish it, which I think I will. It's just a matter of having all the books, and there's like one more I probably might want to get, but still, just kind of like dipping my toe in the water. Even if I were to uh, not conclude that series, do the rest of it, ever finish it, I can still look at those four parts and say, you know what, I tried. I still have the FDR Part One sitting in my Google Docs. The thing was the entire thing was written. It was recorded. I just have to edit it. But I've been busy with working this job, and then sometimes when you're like editing stuff, you think to yourself, "Oh man, do I really want to start another one of these?" Because Part One's going to be the early years, and then Part Two is probably going to be when he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy, and uh, probably end before the paralysis, and then three will be the paralysis and being governor, and then Part Four is probably going to be when he runs for president. So you get the idea. There's like a general mapping of this in my head, but it really depends on like how much content goes for, like what generates being an hour, right? With Johnson, we covered the whole 10 years he was in the House in one video. And that included his attempt at running for the Senate in 1941. Oh man. But yeah, it's hard to get involved with this stuff. There's a lot of apathy. And really, I think it's just a matter of no good deed goes unpunished. There are people whose names appear on ballots that you've never even seen. Like, I'm not even kidding. Some of these people, including the one in that district, if I didn't look up who was the representative, I would never and watch the news, of course, the local news. You would never see her face at all. Because they don't have to do anything. They're handpicked. They get all the endorsements, and people just vote for them because you have a DR and R by your name. This is a blue or red district, and there you go. I really I think I'm willing to commit myself to this. I've certainly had all types of other frustrations. But I guess look at it like this: if I were not able to run any capacity, I would be upset with the state for just not explaining things, for making stuff hard to get involved with. If I were given the opportunity to run, provided I meet some requirements that aren't money related, but then I couldn't do it, I would be upset with myself. Uh, because in that scenario, it's up to me to get this or to have that or to go here. But yeah, after the day, I just feel kind of tired, and really, it just has to do with, it's like this: on Friday, you get off later than you're supposed to because They like keeping people later than the hours that they say they're going to be there. Then you wake up on Saturday at like 12, 11 after going to sleep at 3 or 4 in the morning. Um, God, it's just no time for rest. They said Theodore Roosevelt drank a gallon of coffee a day. I need to start doing that. The craziest thing to me is seeing banks that open at 9 in the morning and close at 12 out in the afternoons. I've never seen successful businesses that are only open for 3 hours a day. That's nuts to me. Uh, every Saturday they're like that too. 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that's a problem for me because generally speaking, I now work on Friday from 6 in the afternoon to 1 in the morning. So I have to like rush home, go to sleep, and then wake up, hopefully at some point between 9 and 12. So between 9 and 11, because it's probably going to be like an hour to even be in there. No, I just have to keep reminding myself the only way you get things that are difficult is by doing rough stuff. It might actually take canvassing and crisscrossing the entire district just to get those 40 to 60 signatures. Like, I'm not even saying to be funny, but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes. It's a little bit harder to do it with the job, but whatever. I like that the gas prices have gone down. I'm happy about that. I went to this one station. They had it for 3.89 per gallon. I said, you guys are reminding me of Georgia and Alabama. That was such a fun 5 days. Like just being able to drive wherever you want, looking at all these different stores, and I really hope we get some sequel to that. If it's not this year, then next year or some other later point. I just like the idea of you get a few days to just relax, explore this area that you're normally not in. Just sightseeing. I like viewing things. I just said the only regret I had was that I didn't get to do it with someone else. But I think I can stomach that at least for Texas. Oh man, no, I'm not kidding at all. This is like when this stream is over, I might try to record a video, 2 videos, the routine, and then like just crash. I already know there's another assignment waiting for me though. I'm not even talking about working tomorrow. Like something that happened here when I left. Oh man, that's why I said stuff is always so complicated. I always think about the one stupid relative that was talking about, oh, you can't do this while wearing that. I'm like, man, get out of my face. The reality is people just don't care. Some of them do, but it's always a matter of will it be enough to turn the tide or like seriously put a hole in this stuff. Like seeing that one guy that was like, "Oh, I'm not really a political person." Like, well, I mean, no one's asking you to actually go and vote. We're just saying, hey, this person wants to go on the ballot and they need this many people to do it. Whatever. Just oh man, it's a new experience. I can say that because when I started knocking, I was like, wow, I'm actually doing this. There's no if and ends. There's no this person isn't famous enough. No, I guarantee you this. If I'm able to actually get on there, uh, I'll be the only one that they actually saw out of any of the names on there. I'm not even joking. That's like the motto of my existence. It's work the hardest, get the least result. I remember like I'll never forget my friend was like, "Oh, is anyone else making documentaries to you gotta see if you can beat the competition?" Like there is no competition. No regular news channel that I watch, including the ones that are actually groups like, TYT or PragerU or whatever. None of them make documentaries like at all. Not a single one. That's actually my biggest problem with a lot of these channels. They just expect you to know what they know. And with their much larger budgets than mine, they should be able to do whole recaps. And even if you didn't want to do like a whole, this person's life from beginning to end, you could still very easily be like, okay, this happened this year, that happened that year. This was good because et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. People who didn't like it said this. They don't do that. They have an expectation that if you watch them, you know everything that they're familiar with. And maybe sometimes they do a video, they'll say in passing, "Oh yeah, this happened," but most of the time they don't care to like actually bring you up to speed with anything, and I find that very sad. The competition, there is no competition. Nobody else is doing this. Not the signature thing, just like making attempting to do a documentary or do documentaries. Like I haven't seen any other channel out of the ones I watch that does this. Man, I didn't even get to promote Williamson because that was another like thing I thought about. Like, hey, we could make this also kind of like plugging her, talk about some people that he likes. Uh, from one campaign to another. That's the part that drives me crazy. Like this district has about 800,000 people in it, which is big for one person. Like I don't think it would be reasonably possible for me to crisscross the entire like every single block, every single. But for a sitting or rather a politician who's been active for several years, they certainly could put up a bigger effort than what we've been seeing. So I said they do not care. People are just so like it's funny. Some of them were really jaded just when I spoke to them, but also like I uh I don't know. I guess what I like the most so far about doing this is just being able to actually speak to people about this stuff because it's really hard to just you know go up to someone and hey, I am also into this. Just it's that's the most difficult part when you come to them with that specific purpose. And I didn't in both instances where someone actually talked to me, I didn't walk away or try to like say, "Oh, I gotta go, I gotta," because I accepted, yeah, this is probably going to take several days at a minimum, and it's just it is what it is. Oh man. He thinks he's owed this. No, I always make an effort to do something. No one would try that hard if they thought they were just going to get something. It's actually the reverse. A lot of these incumbent politicians think they're owed something. They're going to just get thousands of votes sitting on their couch and sofa. Oh man. God, I'm just imagining getting up on Monday morning, do it. You got like do the stream, and then right after the stream is over, you go and hey, back in those neighborhoods, and oh, it'll be interesting. Even the people I didn't sign, I said thanks anyway. Whatever. I mean, I guess someone could campaign after dark. I prefer not to because I just feel weird like coming up at night. Hi, I am, da, da, da. So I'll just it's like this. The morning hours are kind of shot for me as far as I could try as early as like 10 o'clock, but I have this feeling about people are still sleeping, etc. Um, which is why the actual like period where you could do this stuff is probably between 11 to 3 or 4 or something. You got the one guy, he was like, I'm helping, I'm taking care of my mom. I was like, okay. Nah, you can't get one shred of help, I tell you, from a lot of these people. And it costs them nothing, but they still can't do it. That reminds me of like the whole like thing with YouTube where I had like the person that wouldn't watch the videos because like I explained that the more views means the more people see it, means more people watch the ads, whatever. But like, and I was thinking to myself, it's like, I don't ask you to donate, but if I ask you, hey, can you play this, share it, that's too much, that's too hard. I just think it's weird. People are always against doing something. They are always opposed to stuff. It's really sad. Like, I can't do this. This is too much. I'm afraid of this. I say, God, we just can't have any like productive candidacies. It's really sad. But like I said, I think as much as I may be tired at various points, as much as I may, get irritated with just the way people are, I'm gonna try so that when he loses, when I lose, I can say, you know what, I gave it my all, and then I can get a long rest and find other ways to be involved. Mm. Mm. I'm not even like a big Ramaswamy fan, but I'll never forget hearing the story of how he did 30 interviews in one day. That's the way I feel with this stuff, where you just have to like basically do almost a guerrilla campaign of like, hey, so hi, 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 hi. I like there are certain I'm not gonna like keep bothering the same people that just are not receptive to this stuff, but You know, go down as many blocks as you can. Oh man. God, it's been such an interesting. I You could tell this year is going to be crazy, like already. As I said earlier, like just things are pointing in that direction. But yeah, I'm gonna still try to do the documentary parts. I just These days have just been kind of like really packed for me, and they're gonna be packed for probably the next month and a half. So it'll be fun to see if I can squeeze out stuff in that time. And I'm I'm still wondering how long I'll be at that job before they get rid of me. My best bet is probably um because it's usually within like the same calendar month, right? Like 2 months. So it like even if it's been 3 calendar months since I started working there, I still would only count it as 2 months because it was like November something or whatever when I started. Um I'm gonna say if I'm still there by the end of February, I will be very surprised. Because that's the 3 month window where they do the whole like you're non probation, you're either not or on probation, so we're gonna say goodbye to you. Uh, but yeah, I have no misgivings about my status with these companies. They will throw you away before your seat gets warm. I'm dead serious when I say that too. But no, every person I spoke to, I had a nice inviting smile. I said hi. Because really, there is a part of me that is genuinely happy about being able to participate in this type of stuff, even if you have these overwhelming odds against you. I like being able to go and talk to people and at least like make an attempt. Because remember, when you try as hard as you can't go, oh man, if only I had done this. No. Hmm. Yeah, it's been such a tiring period. I know that's like the lamest thing about a stream this season when I talk about how tired they are, but God, I wish they had just let us get off at 1 o'clock or a little bit after one or whatever on Friday. It would have made today so much easier. They just kept going and going and going, and it never stopped. Like I'm serious. I like when we get past that hour mark of when we were supposed to leave, I start counting in my mind like how much longer can you drag this out? Like, you had me do this, then you had me do that, then you had me do this, then you had me do that. I think it's interesting too because like I have one of the managers where they just keep finding little stuff for you to do even after you complete your main task, and the other one who's like, "Okay, you can go after you done all this. Okay, bye." And they were really staying there like until 3 in the morning. Like I left at 2 something, 2:30. got back at 3 o'clock. They really stay there just all night. Like it never stops. God, I couldn't imagine it. And they people always talk about, oh, overtime pay, overtime pay. It's like, but yeah, but if I genuinely am tired, my stamina is low, I've been standing in one spot or another for like 8 hours straight, if not even longer than that, I want to go home. And I'm very serious when I say that sometimes the pay isn't worth it. Sometimes you just get tired. Sometimes you say, you know what, I've been here all day. Can we end this? It's just it's just something they don't really want to pick up on. But yeah, I think there is a chance with most of this stuff. It's just it's not easy. Um, like I said, this is mostly about just understanding how to do it, getting more comfortable with it, and then from there we can plan out a more successful course in the future. But even if it was just like a test run, you would still actually like make an effort, right? You have your positions. I would. That's why today I had this one lady ask me my positions. I was so like caught off guard because this was after several people had basically just been like, get lost, not interested, whatever. That I actually sat there and spoke with her for about could have been 6 minutes, 7, 8 minutes. He's like, I'm not gonna just sign something for a person. I was like, hey, you can ask me anything you want. I'll answer all questions. This is the transparent candidacy. It's just because of what had happened before. I was like, oh wow, I actually get to talk to somebody. It's kind of like if you call in one of these, these operations out here. You call it, like, let's say, the library, and the whole time you call up the library, you hear, "Thank you for calling this library. We are current." And then after this happens two, three, four times, one day you call them up, and the person says, "Hi, my name is this. What can I do for you?" You're like, wow, an actual human being. It's just that same thing of just finally getting some acknowledgement by another person. Yeah, oh man, I'm just thinking about tomorrow and how grueling that's going to be. Hope they don't keep me till 2 in the morning again, but or excuse me, 2:30 in the morning. But I don't know this that they actually did that twice in a row. They did it on yesterday and they did on Wednesday. Um, I was going to mention this because I think it's interesting. So, I had this one coworker who's she's like I just think very nice looking, and I was like, man, if I weren't so disillusioned with all that romance nonsense, I probably would. And also not trying to like get in fired or in trouble over trying to have a relationship with a coworker, I probably would be like, hey, how are you or something. But I I think it's just better to stay away. Because I kind of felt sort of jaded after that other one was like, oh, it's my last day. And I say, hey, you have an email? Oh, I'm gonna be too busy with school to speak to you. It's like, yeah, never heard that before. So I usually don't even try to like initiate anything outside of the boundaries of the position. But at the same time, I've tried very hard, even as a person who's attempting to do the whole like, hey, let's keep that distance, right? To appear friendly. To I make some jokes. I try to have some humor. I try to. I always any position I have. I guess I put it like this: anything that is bad or otherwise kind of like I don't want to say mundane, but sort of, and that's the word I use for mundane existence. But I try to do that so that I can at least be less stressed or I don't know. I just think it's a good tension reliever. I genuinely believe that. I think it's a nice calmer in the face of adversity. But yeah, I'm gonna try to get some more in the coming days, most likely on Monday. And this is not it's something that would be much easier if I had an actual like group behind me, but I don't. I'm one person and I'm trying as hard as I can and we'll see if one man can make any semblance of a difference, I guess. So, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your night.